I want to take a minute on today to celebrate where we are. Denise shared with me that we've got 55 groups this year. Give God a hand for that. And we've had leaders who have come on and who have seized the mantle of discipleship, and we thank them for that. Where are all of our new leaders? Where are our new leaders? Oh, give them a hand. We thank God for you. And here's what I know. Here's what I know. I know that you're going to discover God in richer and deeper ways. And your faith is going to become more meaningful, because when my faith is directional, when it's going somewhere beyond me, it's actually more life-giving. Everything takes on more life. How many of you have just not grown from leading a group? Anybody here has not grown? I mean, it's hard because you have to grow in terms of your priorities. Because to have a group, you got to prioritize. You have to grow in terms of your intake and your connection with the Word of God. You have to grow in terms of your love for people, because it's just impossible to have people in your home and not care for them, not love them. I mean, you can work hard at it, but it's very difficult. And so, at the end of the day, you are the better, and you are the better. That's why we so unashamedly ask people to do this. It's because we realize this is the gold. I mean, this is the gold medal life. Now, can we do better at it? Oh, can we grow it? Absolutely. Can we grow in different ways and different dimensions with respect to leading small groups? You're absolutely right, we can. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to say. They've been on my heart, and I've actually been talking to the staff about them. I want us to go to an even richer place of discipleship. I'm going to tell you what I feel, and I want, we don't have a lot of time, but if you want to email me and you want to talk back to me a little bit today, that'll be good. I'm going to tell you where I feel we are. I feel like we've done a great job of getting people into COGs, and let's give yourselves a hand for that. I want to give our staff and Denise Sockwell a hand for that, because, of course, this is the only thing I'm on all the time. Because here's what I've learned. If people don't get in community, they will not grow. They will not grow. It don't matter how much they wave their hands during the worship service. If they're not connected, they're not growing. They're not going to grow. And so we're very passionate about that. But now this is what I'm seeing. And I talked about it today. People still don't know what it's like to really live for God. Yeah, they really don't. And I'm not talking about y'all necessarily. I'm saying when you get beyond the core and you ask people about their walk with God, it's like they love our church. And they like their COG. And they think I'm an authentic pastor. Just keep it real, pastor. But there's another level. There's another level. I'm very excited about what we're doing. But we really have got to zone in on what this Christ life is about. Now, did y'all hear what I was saying today? Some of y'all may have been here Saturday. We got to focus in like a laser on what a disciple looks like. Because here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people who are growing, but they're huge holes in their walk. I talk to people, and even people who serve, I think they feel like they're doing God a favor sometimes, Yeah, I know. But that's the way I hear. I want people to go to small groups because they find community to be invigorating. But I want them to be leaders. I want them to see that this is not just for them. This is about us bringing them into a forum where they can grow so that they can go out and do this for others. And not all of them are seeing that, because some of y'all been looking for a leader in your group for like forever, right? Like forever. And they just perfectly content to just sit there and just enjoy the doggone group, because they don't know what it looks like to be a disciple. Now, I want you to tell me this. What are the marks of a disciple? What are the marks of a disciple? Somebody tell me. Let's just go down the list. You don't have to be in order. Come on, just hit me. Hit me. Give me one mark of a real disciple. Love. Okay, what's the verse? Hit me. What's the verse? Okay, so love for God. That's Matthew 22. Pull it out. Matthew 22, 37. What's another mark of a disciple? Obedience. Give me the verse. What's the verse? Okay, if you love me, you'll obey my commands. That's kind of the love for God. That's a great verse, though. What about John 8, 31, 32? Find that one, Ann. Give me another mark of a disciple. A disciple is a learner. That's Matthew 11, 28 through 29. Pull that one up, Mike. What's the next one? What's the next one? Give me another one. I want you to know 5 of them. Let's do 5 of them real quick. What does that mean? I know what you mean, but that's not biblical language. I think you're talking about witnessing or something like that. John 8, 31 and 32. What else? Service. Servanthood is another one. Matthew 20, go to 20 and 26. Bring it, pull it out. That's enough. Okay, so the mark of a disciple is obedience. Read it real quick. Yeah. If you hold to my teaching, that's just not a good idea. That's the indicator that you really belong to me. If you hold to my teaching, see, then you really are my disciple. If you don't hold to my teaching, I don't know. I have no clue. Are y'all listening to what I'm saying? Okay. What's the next one? Which one did you get? Love for God? Read it. All your heart, what does that mean? Somebody tell me what that means. Put that in practical terms. All your heart, all your soul, all your mind. Richard, help me. What does that mean? Unconditionally. Right. Yeah. They're trying to. Okay. So he's basically the center of my focus every day. Everything in my heart, everything in my soul, everything in my mind. Somebody says servanthood. Read that verse. Yeah. When you go to your groups today, do your group members serve one another? Yeah, I'm sure some of them do. But here's where I'm going with this. I want us to begin to envision what we're trying to do with these people. See, it's not about us just coming together and enjoying one another. Here's what I want you to begin to recognize. And many of you already are doing this. It's just a confirmation. Begin to recognize the misunderstandings about the walk. And begin to encourage people to take steps of faith. If there's somebody who doesn't have, they've talked to you about prayer, coach them in prayer. Don't just say, girl, you got to go pray. Or, dude, you got to pray. This is what I do. Pray with them for a few days. Here's what I'm discovering. People need far more coaching than we think they need. Can I do all of that? Absolutely not. But I would imagine across the space of this time, if you're looking for the needs of your group, God may help you to identify one or two people that if you would coach for a month or two or a couple of months, you can really help them in their walk with God. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? How many of you have done this already? You had somebody in your group and you knew they needed a little coaching with respect, I don't know, to some aspect of their spiritual journey. How many of you have done this? Can you think of a specific example and share it? Give me one, Gerald. Excellent example. Mm-hmm. Great. That's crazy good. That's crazy good. And what I'm saying is I just want us to be sensitive to those opportunities to disciple people beyond the lesson. See? And beyond the agenda. Be sensitive to those opportunities. Because you got the marks of a disciple in your spirit. You know what they are. Now, we can't walk into a room that's marked no trespassing. But I would imagine most of you have influence in your people's lives, especially if they've been coming to you for a couple of semesters. I would imagine there's some rooms that are not marked no trespassing, that you can walk in and say, hey, have you thought about this? You could at least ask questions. I guess what I'm saying, I want you to feel yourself to truly be their leader. I am not their leader. You are their leader. They won't be able to get to me. And many of them are hesitant about calling me. Well, he busy. We're not going to call the pastor. Some of y'all think that way about me. He busy. We're not going to call him. Yeah, not you, but you understand what I'm saying? See yourself as their leader. I'm pulling this word, and I want to say, I want you to see yourself as a disciple maker. Did y'all understand what I was saying today? That's what you do. You are a disciple maker. Now, here's the next thing that I need you to feel. I feel like we need to start pulling people in the off seasons. In fact, I'm going to be pulling a group of men here real soon and just taking them through discipleship training that is designed to just give people the whole of what it looks like to walk with God at one time. At one time. I didn't do this today at, did I give that discipleship model at, I didn't do it at 10 and 12. I was getting tired. But anyway, I gave it at, I think last night. And I did that discipleship model in about 10 minutes. And I was sitting there looking at all of those things. And you know what occurred to me? I can probably teach all of this with about an hour's worth of preparation. Because that's just what I do. And I'm not trying to wax eloquent with it. I just want to take them to the scriptures and let the scriptures talk to them about what God says in all of these areas. And because people have never really gotten that in one continuous coaching presentation model, they've never really gotten all that at one time. They really have holes in their perception of the faith. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing we need to get on our team about right now. I'm noticing that a lot of people who go into small groups, they're not coming to church as much as they used to. Oh, yes. Have you noticed this? Okay. Not your group. Okay. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. But I'm just saying. I know some people who in small groups, they be streaming like a mug. They got their 3 relationships. They feel all connected. And I'm like, you still need the corporate worship. See, that's discipleship. A disciple goes to church every Sunday. Every Sunday. See, I've been discipled. I wouldn't, when I'm not preaching, when I'm out of town, what do you think we do? We go to church. Now, I didn't go to church on that ship in Alaska. I just figured I wasn't going to be feeling all of that. But y'all understand what I'm saying. That's what disciples do. They go to church. If your people are not going to church, like, dude, I'll be looking for you. We're not helping them if we're not leading. And so here's what I want you to also be doing. Be identifying people who you think could be candidates for that kind of instruction. Because if we can introduce our church to about 150 thoroughly trained disciple makers in the next year and a half, 2 years, do you think that would improve COGs, Greater Mount Zion, our servant corps, all of that? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'm going to be communicating about this more and more. I'm even talking to our team about how do we reorganize a little bit more, because I want some more time. I really just want to spend more of my time just coaching people to live. Just coaching people to live. Any questions about what I'm saying? It's a great time, too, to be talking about this as we talk about Explore God. What if God gave us 100 new believers in the next 3 months? Would we be ready to disciple them? You see, a lot of times the limiting resource on our harvest is the absence of trained leaders. I mean, how will we handle 100 new people? You know we are part of Explore God, right? Are we going to be ready? Are we going to have 10 new groups next year? Ready for them? And so just some things for us to think about as we move forward. Denise, that's it.
How many of y'all have been hearing about Explore God? I wanted to see if there was anybody that didn't raise their hand. Many of you all don't know, but actually Pastor Clark was part of that team that planned Explore God. So this is part of a vision that came out of the Strategic Pastors Council, and PC is one of those 12 pastors in the city that is a part of that leadership team. And Explore God now has evolved and grown into this 4-month campaign. It didn't happen by accident. This was something that was strategic. It's a 4-month campaign that actually began in July with the marketing that has been done. You've seen the billboards across the city. Some of you all have seen the commercials about Explore God. And now in September, we're going to begin the sermon series. This is going to be a 7-week-long series. And the goal of Explore God is to invite people to investigate questions about God in a non-threatening environment. It's creating a space for individuals to have a spiritual conversation with those who are pre-Christian. So Explore God gives us practical ways to generate spiritual conversations with people. It also gives us an opportunity to bring them up to speed on what their purpose is, and we're going to discover our purpose. The reliability of the Bible, the existence of evil, who Jesus is, and other questions that people have. And we all have questions. You all seen the sign outside that we have outside of the church? Right here, the banner, we all have questions. So who is a part of Explore God? There are now 342 churches who are part of Explore God. I mean, let's give God a hand clap of praise for that. 342 churches that are now part of Explore God. Amen. So when is the campaign? Well, we just said that it's already started. It started in July with the advertising blitz designed to raise awareness around the city and create questions around spiritual things. And if you all have been watching the news, KXAN just did a story here recently, and so did KVUE, about Explore God. The campaign culminates with the sermon series that starts on September 8th and will go through October 20th. When our Sunday messages and all of our Sunday messages and discussions will be about Explore God. Now, one of the things that struck us as a leadership team and the other churches in the city was that the perceptions of Christians around the world is this. 91% of people think that Christians are anti-homosexual. 87% believe that we as believers are judgmental. 85% believe that we are hypocritical. And 21% of this demographic are not affiliated with any religion at all. 40% of Americans see no difference between the Bible, the Quran, and the Book of Mormon. And 52% of American adults agree that Christianity is no longer the faith that Americans automatically accept as their personal faith. This is right here in America. So, Explore God allows us as believers to provide a Christian perspective on life's biggest questions. And one of those, and a few of those questions are this: does life have a purpose? Can I know God and his love personally? If God is good, why is there evil in the world? Is Christianity too narrow in our culture? Is there a God? Is the Bible reliable? Is Jesus really God? These are important questions. I started having conversations with people around this same subject matter the past couple of weeks. And people respond when we just ask that one question: what do you think the purpose of life is? People will engage you for hours in conversation about that subject. There's 4 distinctives of Explore God. The 4 unique characteristics of Explore God are this. 1, it invites. It invites people to questions, to ask questions, embrace questions to ask group facilitators. We want to create safe environments where people can ask their spiritual questions. So all we're doing is creating a space for people to be able to have spiritual conversations. So we don't have to get fancy or anything like that. We're just creating a space for people to converse with one another about God. That takes all the pressure off of us and puts all the pressure on God. Then create conversation. We embrace the tension to promote conversation. 2 principles to embrace here are invitation and inspiration. Invitation is when we ask open-ended and follow-up questions. And inspiration is when you say something that makes the group want to respond. And then promote experiential learning. We want to embrace various learning styles in these groups. The Explore God approach is to connect with left and right brain, logical and creative learning styles. Now, I met with a lawyer the other day, and I shared this with Kevin White. And I like this dude. And we're sitting there, we're talking. And immediately he started asking deeper questions. I just asked one simple question: what do you think the purpose of life is? And I mean, he broke it down. And then he got to the point to where he began to engage me about even the desire to have spiritual conversations, and is it necessary to have spiritual conversations for people to know God? And so I came back and I began to explore God with Kevin. I was like, this dude, you could tell he was an attorney because he proved his case. I was like, man, Lord. I told him, I said, I don't have all the answers, but I am going to come back and get back with you. Can we meet again for coffee another day? I'm going to regroup. The next thing, inspire self-discovery. The Explore God approach is to inspire people to seek answers to their questions. The discussion is not geared toward providing exhaustive answers, but to inspire people to find answers to their questions. So we're there as facilitators and there to facilitate a spiritual conversation. So I have a couple of questions for you all. Which distinctive do you connect with the most? Now, I want to hear from a couple of you all. Which distinctive do you connect with the most? Invite questions, create conversation, promote experiential learning, inspire self-discovery. Which one do you connect with the most? One or two others. Create questions. Why? Okay. All right. I didn't ask you for all that, did I? Okay, that's good. That's an excellent point, too. The point that you didn't have to have all of the answers. That means that that actually gives us another opportunity to come back together because we can both be looking for those answers and we can discuss it further. So that presents another opportunity. Anyone else on that one?
And I say that because I like to talk. And right. And I find it easy. Just you can create a conversation out of anything. Doesn't have to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be. What's your purpose in life as the first piece of conversation. You know what I mean? It's just identifying with somebody. I think one of the things as Christians, sometimes people think that that we know everything, that we're the be all end all. And I think just seeing somebody, letting them know that you see them, that they're valuable, and that what they have to say is important. It allows me, which, I just like talking to people just at random, but it allows me to, on another day, perhaps ask some more questions. It creates influence for me because they know I'm coming. They know I'm crazy enough to ask whatever it is that I want to ask, and they're not offended.
That's right. And you made an excellent point, too, because a lot of times not only do people think that we should know, but then I think we put more pressure on ourselves than other people do because they know we don't know everything. We just think that we should know everything, and we don't have to. So that's great. The second question is this. Which one do you find more difficult to embrace out of these four? Which one do you find more difficult to embrace?
Learning. I think it's probably promote experiential learning, getting people to, and I hate to say this, but it's hard to get Christians to read the Bible and to tell people to go and say, okay, this is where you can find it in the Word, or asking people to actually to learn more about it, seek God, and that's something that's probably going to be a little difficult to do to me because they're willing to have a conversation, but to actually get them to actually to learn and to experiment, try to figure out exactly what God is calling you to do, and to do, I think that's going to be a little heavy.
I think the good part about it is that we don't have to try and produce that. We're creating the space for the conversation, and we're actually pointing back to that Explore God website where a lot of those questions that they may have will be answered. So we don't have to put that pressure on ourselves of trying to get them to do anything. That's great. Experiential learning. I'm going to try and tackle this, but Denise, I'm going to call upon your help to help me. I think each one of us has a different way of connecting and learning, and we're learning how to connect with others on I guess, according to the learning style that they may have. Like, for instance, with me, I probably won't receive you if you come to me and you try and shove something down my throat and tell me something. But if you create a conversation with me and it's something that generated conversation with me and it's like we have equal skin in the game, I'm learning from you and you're learning from me, then people are more likely to share. In fact, they think that they're informing you of something, and most times they are. So I think that we are using different methods in order to get people to ask the right questions and ask God those questions, because they can ask us questions all day long, but sooner or later they're going to get to the point to where they begin to search for those answers, and they begin to search for those answers by connecting with our God. Did I answer that?
When you said experiential learning, I'm thinking that Facebook, that Twitter, even the app on the phone that somebody had to put on there for me, that's what, when I look at experiential learning, that's totally outside of my realm, which is why I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's what the Explore God, reason why they're distinctives, what we're talking about is these are things unique about Explore God, okay? So Explore God is saying, look, we've created content that people can read if they're readers, that they can look at on video if they prefer to watch video. It's not showing someone how to do something. It's connecting with the right brain, the left brain, the creative, the logical, the rational person. Does that make sense? So it's the content of Explore God that we're talking about. So the content of Explore God is to promote that, is to say, hey, there's more than one way to learn. Okay, you can learn through watching this video, you can learn through this interview, you can learn through reading this article. So that's the point of that. Does that make sense? Okay. You can learn through the online conversation, you can follow them on Facebook and Twitter, and you can get all those questions asked.
You can visit exploreguide.com. Remember to do that and encourage other people to do the same. Let's give Denise a hand of applause for putting all this together.
So let me back up a little bit, okay? We're doing this. You guys know we're heading into one of really the most, I think, pivotal COG semesters since we've first started. So this is like a big deal. And we didn't want to just say, hey, go to the exploreguide.com website. We want to make sure that you are at least equipped, as much as we can equip you to know what Explore God is about beyond just kind of what we've been talking about on Sunday morning. And so the distinctives really give you an idea of what we're trying to convey is, look, this is Explore God, okay? So for the first 7 weeks, we're really going to be more Explore God than we are going to be Circles of Greatness. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're not having a COG group per se. You're having an Explore God discussion group. So that's why those distinctives matter, because you may be inviting, your group may be inviting non-believers, people with a different spiritual walk to the group, and you don't want to have a COG group because they're not going to feel that, okay? You're having an Explore God group. Does that make sense? Okay. So we didn't want to just send you out there and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say or do. This is kind of what we're talking about here. So what we're going to finish up today is really kind of what it looks like to have an Explore God discussion group. I want to walk you through that. You guys have the handout there, and I think they're going to, I'm going to wait for that. We've just kind of summarized the training because I knew y'all were going to be sleepy after dinner, lunch. But I just want you to know how much we care for y'all. It's an hour-long training on video. We didn't do that to y'all. Okay, but you do have to hear me talk a little bit. All right. So Explore God discussion groups. Well, let me back up. How many of y'all have actually gone to exploreguide.com? Leave them up. I want to see. I need to see. Okay. All right. So just about everyone. Okay. You guys, it's like so important that you know most of the content on this site. Everything that we're going to do for 7 weeks is exploreguide.com. Everything. The questions, the articles, the follow-up resources that we want to send people in the group are all coming from exploreguide.com. They're not going to come from the church. They're coming from exploreguide.com. And you want to be at least knowledgeable of what's on the site when you get questions, because we're inviting questions, okay? We're inviting questions. And so we're not asking you to be an expert, but please, just, again, we're leading, okay? So see yourself as someone is saying, look, I'm helping you take the next step, and you know where to find this stuff on the website, okay? All right, Explore God discussion groups. The first thing is, I just want to talk about the mission of Explore God discussion groups. The whole mission is to create a safe environment where group members can seek credible answers to challenging spiritual questions, okay? And we've already talked about, we may have people in our group from a different perspective, different spiritual walk, non-Christian, okay? So our role as group leaders is to create a safe environment where people can ask those questions, okay? So how many of you have already started inviting people to your group? You already know you're gonna get a couple. Good. Continue, and then encourage, send an email out, text out to your people and say, hey, invite a friend, invite a coworker. Please do that, okay? I think it's just gonna make the groups, it's just gonna have more energy. It's gonna we're gonna be talking about Explore God with Christians if we don't do that, and it's, that's good, but just have a spiritual conversation and get somebody else in your group, okay? So here's the thing. We want to create a safe environment. This is really similar to how we've done COG, okay? Because when we tell people you can come to COG, it's a safe environment. Everything is confidential. You can ask every question. It's really similar in that way, okay? And so we're focused on that. The difference is you want to be a little bit more comfortable embracing tension. Somebody's probably going to say something that is theologically incorrect, okay? And some of us will be like, oh my God, I got to fix that. But that's not what the purpose of Explore God is, okay? Because when you start fixing it, then you may shut down the questions, okay? So we're having a conversation, okay? Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we hope will happen. That's what I wish I had somebody like that in my group. Oh my gosh. But what we want to do, you want to ask, tell me why you feel that way. Ask some open-ended questions and really get them to kind of dig deep beyond just kind of that surface, response. And then, exploreGod.com is going to give you, you're going to be able to say, hey, there's an article about that, or you can go to the site and send them something. So we're not trying to provide comprehensive answers in exploreGod.com, okay? We're trying to say, okay, look, we're talking about does life have a purpose, and everybody in the room may have a different idea based on their background on what that looks like, okay? So the exploreGod.com site gives them the biblical Christian perspective on that, okay, without us having to try to do it. Does that make sense?
Not sure about their faith yet.
Yeah, I think
those are the people that
I think that may have to be one-on-one after the group. If you sense that's what's happening in the group, they, or a little shaky. I think you just have those conversations. How does everyone feel about that? Who disagrees with that, or anybody struggling with that? That way you can kind of know, who's like, I don't know what to think about that. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That person may speak up, okay, which is great, because then that helps. But if they don't, I think it just goes back to you kind of have to know your group. You have to know the people in your group who just come into faith, and kind of pull close to them maybe during this time. But this really should help a lot in helping them to define, their Christian walk. Does that make, yes?
We're talking about inviting all new people, or inviting some new people outside of our regular COG members. How are we planning, outside of me inviting them personally, and maybe some of the COG current members inviting maybe non-believers or someone that not maybe as grounded? Is there any other marketing strategy and any other way that they can sign up or solicit or seek out where these meeting places are?
Yeah, on exploreGod.com, there's a place where you can find a discussion group. And so, Church Finder. So it's Church Finder. So you're meeting with someone, maybe they don't want to come to your group. Mm-hmm. You can say, hey, on Church Finder, exploreGod.com, I'm sure it's...
You pick the area, they have the areas where everyone's having the questions, and you just pick the spot close to the area that's near you, like before Starbucks.
But they would go to exploreGod.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then how will you know that you're going to have someone new that's going to just pop up and start and have these questions and want to come to your
So we didn't put our groups, our COGs, we didn't put on there. We do have some Explore God groups specifically, and we're going to add them. Okay, so they would be open like that. Does that make sense? So really what we're looking for you to do is invite. You invite, ask your people to invite, and then, and I would start with friends, family, neighbors, people that you talk to. I wouldn't just do someone you don't know. I wouldn't do that. Good. I saw a look back here that was perplexed. Cerinthia, are you good? No. Come on, ask your question. Come on. No? Okay. Well, let me finish my thing, and I may answer. We
got one right.
Real quickly, I think Michael was asking about marketing or directing people. Are there like any cards or anything we could use to get to people?
Yeah, we had invitation cards. We'll get some more.
Okay.
So you got, and we had them at the table, I think. So, and I think we're out, but we'll get more.
That's good.
And you guys can write your information on there, like where your group is, and give it to people. We'll do that. Okay. John, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to say, you don't have to print them out. Is there a PDF or something we could, because, I'm going to be on campus, and I just want to put flyers everywhere I possibly could.
Yes.
Yeah, like a PDF
What we
I
can
could
do
download.
after this, I'll send the link to that, okay? So I'll send the links to the PDF that you can print out. We'll do that, okay?
Cool.
That way you guys can print the flyers or email them, whatever you want to do. And then we'll have cards as well. We'll cover all the bases. Does that make? Okay, good. So here's what we want to do now. We want to show basically what an Explore God discussion group will look like. Okay, and so this is a part of the training that we kind of cut so you can get just an idea of what this is going to look like. Very similar to COG. Okay. And then we'll come back and answer any other questions because you've been processing what this is going to look like, okay? All right.
Well, I'm going to give you an intro to the Explore God experience. If you would, take out the discussion group facilitators guide. Hopefully everybody has it. If you don't have it, raise your hand. We can bring one of those to you. Is there anybody who doesn't?
You'll get one after.
Awesome. Discussion group facilitator guide. So you'll see in this guide, there's about 6 or 5 pages of kind of orientation material. This is a draft copy, so this isn't the exact final document that we'll publish. This will be online for all of you and your leaders, your facilitators who are going to be facilitating groups. So it sets the tone for what Explore God is. But if you notice, the last 2 pages have basically facilitators' notes on this section, which is what is or does life have a purpose? So if you would, I'm going to walk you through a mock Explore God discussion group. This is a mock Explore God discussion group. So imagine we're actually sitting in a circle in a coffee shop or back room of a restaurant, your living room, or maybe a conference room in a business office. Any of those will work. But we're sitting in that room. This is the very first time we've gotten together. Some of you I probably know personally because I've invited you to be a part of this community. Some of you might be a part of my current small group, my church community. Others may be invited by other friends. Perhaps they saw, a billboard in the city and said, I got to go find, a group. And they found your church, they found your community, and they joined your group. So if you could, get yourself in that mentality. And I'm going to read through these opening remarks. Obviously, as a facilitator, you'd probably summarize these rather than reading verbatim. But this hopefully gives you a little sense for how we're going to go about this. After doing a couple of minutes of social time, getting to know one another, I'll say this. This Explore God discussion group is an opportunity for all of us to consider what we think about lots of spiritual issues among other like-minded people. I'm going to facilitate discussion, but I'm also going to lean into each of you to make this conversation great. Each week, after a few minutes of social time, we'll gather like this to watch a short film, and then we'll take some time to discuss it, poke holes in it, agree and disagree. There's nothing for you to prepare each week, and you can participate at whatever level you feel comfortable. That's one great thing about this group. It's a discussion. It's about exploration. I'm not here to convince anyone about anything. I'm on the journey just like you. The reality of this is that none of us have it all figured out. We all have questions, and we can probably learn something from everyone. I'd like to ask that each of us be respectful of each other's view. We're not here to debate or argue, but rather to foster great conversation around arguably some of the most important questions and topics we all have. Anyone have any questions? And after that, I'd set up this video saying we're going to watch about a 3-minute video that basically asks a question that we all have. And this is what people, or how people responded to the question, does life have a purpose? We call it the pulse of the world. Take a look at the screens.
Why were we put here? I think everyone wants to know, why were we put here? Why are we on earth?
My purpose in life is to live a normal life, to be a citizen, a productive citizen.
I don't fully know why I'm here, but I enjoy that. I enjoy knowing that because then that creates endless possibilities for myself.
I believe it's random, to be honest. I don't think there's a plan. I think you make your own destiny.
I would like to make a difference, even if it's only in one life. I'd prefer to do more.
Love, happiness, joy, yoga.
I think oftentimes you realize what the purpose was more by looking back than looking forward in my way. Some people plan ahead and know exactly what their life is, what their purpose in life is in their mind anyway.
I find direction in life by just meditating daily, just coming out here to the beach.
Whether it be spending time with friends or family or putting some gas in my boat so I can go fishing and catch a few fish, go home, have a fish fry. I live day by day, and I like to take it like that.
Society wants you to think that your life's purpose is all about work and making money and moving forward from that direction, but I think that's wrong, and I'm still trying to figure out what's right for me.
I'd say that because I think the meaning of life, in my opinion, is to find something that you're passionate about and use that passion to make the world around you a better place.
My purpose in life is to serve others, though I don't always do that to the best of my ability. I think that my purpose in life is for Christ to show through me.
I mean, I think everyone has a reason to live. Everyone offers something to this world, whether it be bad, whether it teaches people to be good, or whether they're good themselves. But I think everyone has a purpose on this planet.
So the pulse of the world, those videos were shot literally around around the world asking one simple question: does life have a purpose? So as a facilitator, I would then say to our group, is there one person that you kind of resonated with, that you connected with? If so, what was that? What did they say that kind of connected with you? I'd probably open with or say something like this: and was anything surprising or enlightening? Did you kind of dive in and go, I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I agree with that. So start to get a little bit of conversation flowing. Help people lean in. Because my guess is in our group, people are going to be a little defensive, right? Anytime we're talking about God, especially if there are skeptics in the room, the posture is like this, or maybe like this. The objective is to get people leaning in through the pulse of the world, to echo, to voice the opinions and thoughts that probably many people have sitting in this very room. Then I turn to our second video and say, this is about a 9-minute video where we've asked a group of kind of subject matter experts, if you will, this very same question. Now, they're not experts in that they're kind of untouchable, sitting on a pedestal. These are people just like us who have wrestled with, thought with, written about this very question. And here's what they had to say.
I feel like for the longest time, my purpose was to convince people that I'm good enough, convince people that I'm really talented, convince people that they should like me, convince people that if they make fun of me, I will punch them.
I think American culture teaches us to make it happen. I mean, if you're going to be successful, you just got to make it happen. So it's all about the strength of your inertia moving forward or higher. I think that's exhausting.
We all wonder about our place in life. You know, maybe it's because we're different, or maybe it's because we feel like we're the exact same as everybody else.
I think that our world is becoming more and more complex, and our lives are becoming more and more accelerated. I think we're all trying to find, as human beings, meaning in all of our technological devices and gadgets, how we spend our time. I mean, I'm amazed at how much time we Americans spend just watching television and screens. And this larger question of, like, does this have any purpose? Like, what are we here for?
There was a famous little book written really short called Here is New York by E.B. White, and he said, what makes New York is 3 kinds of people. Number one, you get a person who's from New York. They are natives and they hardly even notice the city. You get locusts, they're people who basically live outside of the city but consume its resources. And then the last person is the person who moves here with personal ambition because they need a world stage for their perceived greatness to be realized. Los Angeles, for the most part, is about the veneer of beauty, but New York is about the pursuit of power. People they reroute their longing for God and they just channel it towards something else. They invest with holy religious zeal. The same things that Christians or religious people do into religion, they invest that into their careers or their relationships or their parenting or whatever else that is.
One of the most popular rock songs of all time is Mick Jagger's song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And gosh, I really relate to that. For a long time, I just had this gnawing sense that if I could just discover the right thing, if I could just maybe get a better job or have enough financial blessing or find the right person that loved me or maybe even have the right kids with the right accolades so I could put the bumper sticker on the back of my car. My kid's a straight A student, rah, and then I'd feel satisfied.
The problem with answering, is there a purpose for our lives, is that the question itself is driven by what I call utilitarian pragmatism, where we have to define everything and reduce it to a manageable piece before we can begin to play and explore. And as an artist, I don't do that. I start with a question and I leave it unanswered. So many times I don't have an answer for why I am doing a particular piece of work, or why I'm involved in a particular way of approaching my community, or my marriage, or lives of our children. But I'm comfortable with the mystery and the open-endedness of that question. So I often work backwards, and I try to find that purpose at the end of the journey rather than at the beginning.
My son and I were working on a Pinewood Derby car over the last couple of months. We worked super hard. We sanded and, cut the wood and painted it and polished the wheels and made the pinstripe. And, you think about all the things that are wrapped up in that small little 20-hour project. Like, here's the goal, here's where we're headed, here are the tools we need to do this, the bonding and the relationship and the apprenticeship from me to him to use the drill press and to use the different tools. Like this idea of like having something, it brought us together in a way that was really cool. And when you think about like our larger purpose, and you think about like how our lives are being lived, is it possible that we're like God, like God's working with us to do some sort of project in the world, to do something good, to enjoy each other together during that process? It feels like, to understand even a small little project like a Pinewood Derby car, you get the idea that our lives were made for some sort of purpose.
I think we each have a role to play in the world, and that part of that role is that we're supposed to be here kind of fixing things that are broken. That part of our purpose is to participate with God, who wants to see things that are wrong made right, that are injustice made just. And I think each of us have a pretty unique story to play out within that. And a lot of it comes down to understanding our own story.
If we lay our life out, if we look at all the pieces of our lives, where we were born, the suffering that we've been through, the gifts that we have, the personality that we have, the places that God's led us now, the places that we work, the things we do with our free time, if you just lay all of that out, all of a sudden, you start to look really unique. And I think that God wants us to see the pieces of our lives that He's given us, that we have, that are unique. And in that time and place, with our gifting, with our personality, use us.
No man knows his purpose until he knows the person who created him. I think people can't be fulfilled in what they're doing in life until they find the purpose that God has for them.
I had a friend in my life who I not so affectionately called my Bible friend. She was all the time giving me Bible verses, and honestly, it just, it got on my nerves. I thought, how could one person have access to so many Bible verses? Like if I had a headache, she had a verse for that. But one day, she gave me this verse, and it was Jeremiah 29:11. It said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." And gosh, I remember reading that verse and thinking, I've thought my whole life that I was a throwaway person, so this verse doesn't really apply to me. But I read it over and over and over, and something just deep down in my heart started stirring, and I read the verse again and just put my name in it, "For I know the plans I have for you, Lisa, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And for the first time in my life, I thought, maybe, even though I was a throwaway person to my real dad, maybe God looks at me a little bit differently, and maybe I should try this God thing. I didn't know the right words to say. I didn't know what to do. So I just lifted my hands up and I just said, yes, yes. And I guess, not to make it over simple, but I've pretty much just been saying yes to God ever since. And I think ultimately that's my purpose.
So we call that the Curiosity Collective. It's obviously a collection of subject matter experts who communicate on specific issues. We range from 7 to sometimes 9 communicators in each of these Curiosity Collectives. Now remember, the distinctives of Explore God are to invite questions, to create conversation, to promote experiential learning, and to inspire self-discovery. So with that kind of backdrop, I would start with these types of questions. And again, I'm looking at the facilitator's guide. Can anyone identify with any of the stories we just watched? Why and how? And create that conversation, right? People begin to dialogue. People begin to unpack. Yeah, I really identify with that girl, Lisa, saying yes. Or, you know, the guy who talked to the bishop who talked about, you know, discovering my purpose or not being able to until, you know, I really identified with that. Take a look at the next one. What did you find intriguing, compelling, or maybe even frustrating about the Curiosity Collective? That's going to elicit some hopefully really healthy dialogue and conversation. Does life seem like a random series of events, or is there some kind of plan unfolding, in your opinion? Do you think of yourself as unique? How do you think you became that way? If you believe we all have a purpose, what does God play in that, if any? And then if you turn the page, you can see one final question we'll typically ask has something to do with the scriptures. Can anybody think of a Bible passage? If you're a Bible reader or you have any background in the Bible, can you think of a Bible passage that has anything to do with this? We've provided some kind of tips to dive deeper for facilitators to prepare. But then we've got a featured verse. You know, if you have a Bible, turn to Romans 8:28. Let's dive in. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and have been called according to his. What does that mean? What does that mean? In fact, let's go into the context. What was Paul, the guy who wrote this, what was he talking about when he wrote those words? What impact might that have in our lives today? Have conversation for 25 or 30 minutes. Now, you've noticed probably that I've used the term facilitator as opposed to leader very, very specifically, very intentionally. And that's because our hope is that we've created this such that anybody, just about anybody, can facilitate through this. If you're able to be hospitable, if you're able to open your home or, you know, an office to gather a group of people, if you're able to show these videos, obviously that's a pretty important point. And if you're able to ask questions and point to additional resources, you can facilitate a group. So a lot of people are intimidated by leadership, especially when you get kind of theology involved. We'd love to relieve that tension, that burden, and make this just about as easy or as simple as it possibly can be. Now, here's an additional resource that we'll provide. In addition to this discussion group facilitators guide, we're going to provide follow-up resources. So as a facilitator, you and the folks who you kind of oversee will have literally a database of resources to be able to send to your group members. So after the week on purpose, does life have a purpose? My guess is there's going to be 1 or 2 really key issues that people are struggling with. People are wrestling with it. They're continuing to press into. We don't want the conversation to end there. So we're going to provide a long list of articles, books, sermons, even videos that we've created that help to continue to punctuate, to continue to expand on, to continue to explore this topic, in this case, the topic of purpose. In fact, this is a sample of one of the videos that you guys could send to the group members.
I grew up in England. My dad was in England his whole life until he was about 40, and then we moved to the States. But when he was a young man, he would do a lot of work in the coffee shops in Liverpool, pretty tough spots, actually, and all the hippies would hang out there. And he tells the story about one day going into one of these coffee shops, and it was all hippies, young 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. And one boy sat down at his table and looked at him and said, "What are you doing here?" And my dad says he had flowers in his hair, and it had been so long since he'd washed his hair that my dad wondered if the flowers were actually growing there. He said, well, I'm here to have conversations with you guys. And the guy said, well, what do you want to talk about? And my dad said, well, you know, life and why we're here and purpose. And the guy looked at my dad and he started to laugh and he goes, purpose? My dad just said, so why do you think you're here? I mean, why are you on the planet? Why are you taking up space? The guy looked at him and he said, you know what, my parents told me I was an accident. And because of the way I live my life, I'm assuming that my life will end in an accident too, that my death will be an accident. And so the way I kind of see my purpose is I'm an accident suspended between two accidents. My dad took out his Bible. He had it with him. He had like a little pocket Bible with him. He went to Psalm 139. You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Doesn't sound like an accident to me. It sounds like incredible purpose that every single day that you live, God ordains it. Yeah, my dad shared the gospel with him, walked the whole way through it. And my dad said, does that make sense? He goes, well, the story makes sense, but something doesn't. And my dad said, what? And he said, I don't think you really believe that. I said, why would you say that? And he said, because if you really did believe it, you would have been down here before now, and you wouldn't leave till all of us had agreed. And he stood up and walked out. It was a stunning moment for my dad. I know a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of people look at life and it seems purposeless, meaningless. In fact, there's a book in the Bible called Ecclesiastes, really wealthy, rich guy who had everything, and his conclusion was, man, every day under the sun is just kind of meaningless. You go after everything you want, you get it, and it's just kind of meaningless. And I know a lot of people feel that way, but the rest of the Bible teaches us that it's anything but meaningless. There's tremendous purpose in life.
Can you picture someone sitting at home, dialing up that email after having, an hour-long conversation with your group and probably having that tension inside them? I still don't get it. They seem to maybe discover more questions than I had going in. And you listen to Pete kind of unpack that story. That's a powerful moment. And we believe we know God can use something like that. So again, that's a sample of some of those follow-up resources that we'll provide. So that's more or less in a shell, if you will, kind of a 60-minute. You can expand it in your context into a 90-minute, 120-minute experience or discussion group that we call Explore God.
Okay, you guys have an idea of what that's going to look like now? Okay. Does it think it's starting to come together? Awesome. Any pressing questions? I mean, it's just burning. You have to answer it. Okay, good. So I want to talk about what Explore God discussion groups are not. We've kind of already kind of touched the surface on that, but I do want to kind of fill in the blanks for you guys on your handout. It's Explore God discussion groups are not an introduction to Christian doctrine. Okay, this isn't a theological discussion. The unique thing about Explore God is that the material clearly points to a Christian perspective. You can see that in the videos, right? Okay. It's not a church membership class. Okay, we're not trying to introduce people to Great Mount Zion necessarily. We're just trying to have a discussion. Okay. It's not a Sunday school class. I think that's, I mean, it's more community focused, more relationally focused. It's not a class where you're teaching someone anything, okay? It's not an introduction to small groups. We kind of already talked about that. It's not, the format is, we're not trying to reproduce a circle of greatness. We're just trying to have an Explore God discussion group with the rest of the city. And it's not an apologetics class. So here, we're not trying to defend the Christian faith. That's not what we're asking you to do, okay? It's not what we're asking you to do. Not asking you to defend, think God is big enough to take care of himself. All right. So you're just inviting conversation, okay? So you're going to show these videos. You're going to ask those questions, and then you're going to ask follow-up questions, and then we're just going to start wrestling with this. And what I think we will discover, and it really goes back to what Pastor Clark talked about in the beginning, we're going to have believers in our groups. When we start asking these questions, I mean, some light bulbs are going to start going off. Like, oh, okay, that's what the Christian life is all about. And it goes back to these are great opportunities to just focus in on one or two people for discipleship. And so I think that's really what is exciting to me about it. This is, for believers, it's going to make us, you know, it's going to confirm a lot of things for us. And I think even give us more confidence about what we really believe. And so Explore God is really going to help us do that. Yes, sir.
I was thinking after watching that video, I mean, if a person is not necessarily a biblical scholar and can't really just draw on various verses, but can share their experience in terms of what they have experienced with God based on these discussions that will be coming about as a result of going through this platform or format. Does that allow a person to, will this format allow a person to do that? Because everybody's just not going to have the ability to draw on a scripture like the gentleman talked about, you know, when he went to the restaurant and you know what I'm saying, and the guys were there and he drew on the scripture and of course the guy got up and walked out, but you know, he told him, God, if you'd been there before, this could have really made a difference. But you understand my point?
I think I do. You're asking, when we start getting into these deep questions, yeah. What we're not looking for you to know a scripture. That's not what we're trying to do here. You may know. You may be able, someone may be talking and you may know to point them and read them Psalm 139, okay? But that video is what we'll send out, okay? So you don't have to know. That's what he was saying. We're not asking you to be a leader. We're asking you to be a facilitator. We're just asking you to open up your home, ask the questions, create a safe environment, and then provide follow-up resources. So we're not asking you to be an expert in this, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. We want dialogue. You may know. I mean, you may know, and it will be appropriate to share. But that's not. It's not a requirement. It's not. You know, you just. One of the questions in the on does life have a purpose that he mentioned? It was like they were kind of unpacking it some more. You know, what scriptures, you know, do you know of? If you have a background, you know, could you connect with this? Then that's kind of when you would probably share something like Psalm 139 or Romans 8:28, something like that. Does that make sense? Okay. Chris.
All right. So just a quick question. If we're starting a new Circles of Greatness or Explore God group, what is the recruitment like for that? Do we focus on getting actual members here, or is it both and?
Both and. We're still Circles of Greatness, okay? But we're doing Explore God with the city, and so we're doing it the way everyone else is doing it, okay? So we're still doing the recruitment. Your group is in the catalog, and so members from the church are signing up. But then we also want you to invite people to the group.
So the expectation almost is for the people who sign up for COG to, if they know somebody, to invite somebody to come to the Explore God.
Yeah, we've been asking you guys to invite people as group leaders. We've been asking you to communicate with your group and let them know they can invite their friends or coworkers they've been having spiritual conversations with. Yes.
I'm kind of like with Michelle a little bit, not knowing how to deal with new people. And if there's, just help me with the answer. When you get somebody that's so frustrated and they come in and says, I want to know about all this God and all of it, and you all are not telling me anything, you just letting me vent. What do you say then?
We're not letting them vent. We're asking questions and we're talking about what their frustrations are. Okay. And we're directing them to resources. If you got a book or something that may help them, that's fine. But we're not trying. You put the pressure on God, okay? Put the pressure on God. Like, he can handle the frustration. I promise you he can. So we're not saying, I mean, I know someone may ask me a question. I have no clue, okay? No clue. But I may know this resource. I may know an article. Or I can say, we can talk about it on exploregod.com. Let's go do coffee. Let's go do lunch. Not because I'm trying to, like, fix something. I think sometimes that's what we get caught up in as Christians, and that's why people are kind of turned off, because we think we have answers to some of life's most difficult problems, okay? God does, okay? But life is messy, and I think when we get caught up in trying to fix stuff and check boxes, that's when we lose people, because this culture does not care about checking boxes. They're not gonna buy that. So it's really gonna be about life. It's gonna be about, not necessarily what you are communicating, but it's gonna be about what they, how they connect with you. Ashante, let's wait, because you have something to clarify on it?
Might not do it right now, let's table it, but let's talk later. And saying I don't know opens the door for so many more conversations. So the best tool we have in our toolbox is not necessarily having the answer. It's being transparent and saying I don't know.
Y'all are struggling with this because we're used to asking questions in COG and everybody has the right answer, and that's not what we're trying to do here. That's not what we're trying to do here, okay? Yes? That was my pat Christian answer. Give it to God. But, okay. Absolutely.
Especially me inviting, I work with a lot of different people. Some Buddhists there, some, and this is a great opportunity for us to get together. But then I'm seeing the other side.
Yeah, I think what it goes back to, Explore God gives a Christian perspective. That's what you can rest on, okay? So everything that we point them to, the questions, the conversations we have, it gives a Christian perspective. Okay, someone come and quote the Quran, maybe, but the questions are still going to bring us back to Scripture, although they may not, depending on the question, actually, quote a verse or something. Does that make sense? Okay, I feel you here, but I think if you've got someone that may be teetering or struggling, that's more of a one-on-one conversation and not a group, not something you want to do in the group. Do y'all agree with me on that one? I think if that person is really struggling, then, that's kind of one-on-one thing. Yes, Lily.
Can I add something to what you're saying? Because really, relationships trumps everything else. Most people, when they come in, they want to know whether or not you're going to accept them where they are, and if we're going to continue to have a relationship even after I have stated what my perspective is on a certain issue. So I think when we stay there and we continue to allow God to work, like Denise said, through the Spirit, and we continue to have these conversations, I think they estimated that it takes 18 to 24 months before a person actually is ready to make a spiritual decision. So I believe the important part of it is that we continue the relationship after Explore God is over with, and we give God an opportunity to work in their lives based upon the fact that they see God in us. We didn't give up on them when they had a perspective different than ours. That's it.
And the goal is to get people to take whatever that next step is in the Christian faith. Okay, it's not to at the October 20th have win all these souls to Christ. Okay, can y'all relax a little bit? Okay, we're having the largest spiritual conversation we've ever had in the city of Austin. That's what we're doing. Okay, we're just raising spiritual awareness in the city of Austin. Y'all get that? Okay, we're not trying to answer everyone's questions. We're just trying to just raise the temperature up a little bit. Okay, we're raising the temperature. Lily had, and then Cedric.
I have a question for some people that I've run into recently who are hearing about the Explore God groups and then COG. Some of them think that they're separate entities. So they're like, and I think about recruiting for COG. I'm asking them, hey, are you a part of a COG? And they're like, well, I already signed up for an Explore God group. And they don't know that they're separate, but we're also doing them in COG. So you get both in the COG, and then some people can decide to do the just Explore God group. So I'm struggling with what to tell them.
Nothing. Nothing. Don't just welcome when they come to your group. Welcome.
No, they're not trying to join my group because
I'm saying, but we've communicated it, so I don't know how to else. I don't know what else to say. Okay, we've said we're talking about Explore God this semester.
Right.
So I would that may have been someone who missed when we were doing all of our stuff. Okay, so goes back to that's why Pastor Clark said you got to come to church.
Right.
Okay, so during this fall semester, okay, we're not doing away with Circles of Greatness, but during this fall semester, we're focusing on Explore God. So Pastor Clark is going to be preaching every week. He's going to preach on one of those questions, and then just like because we're in COG, we take these questions, we go to group, we discuss. That's what we're doing. So there's really no difference.
Right.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why I said I wouldn't try to get into, well, it's this and it's this. I would just welcome them to the group. Okay? It'll all start making sense when they get there. Yes.
I'm not sure how this is all planned out logistically, right? But it appears that all the information is going to be available online. And so
you're getting ahead of me.
Okay. But my question is, if someone, we're week 1 and they ask a week 3 topic, how do you handle that, if that's even the case? Because it seems like all the information is going to be on exploregod.com, right?
Yeah.
So, I just want to know how you would handle it.
I would touch on it if that's what y'all need to talk. If you feel like that's something we need to really discuss in the session right now, and let them know that that's a topic and we can really dig deep into that. So keep going. Yes.
My question is, I already have 3 people in my group that have already sent me a list of questions for Explore Guide that we will definitely discuss within the group. Yes, sir. I have some inquisitive people in my group. Anyway, with that said, at the end of every session, I think several males in my group could benefit from mentorship. So how does that look once the Explore Guide portion of the segment is over? Is there any type of connection we can make for the men in our group? For like mentorship?
That's a great question.
Early 20s and maybe
I would say
early
talk
30s.
to these guys. Gerald is in front of you. Sherwin, I mean, we can. They probably don't have the bandwidth to do it, but we could probably. Yeah, I would also encourage them to do men's frat when we have that. I mean, we've had it twice, and so preferably they've gone through it and they've made some one-on-one connections with some guys that they can build relationships with. Okay, can we move on? I won't be able to answer all of your questions. Okay, so yeah, brace the tension. Brace the tension. All right, the values of Explore Guide discussion groups. Okay. First thing is biblical authority. Okay. We believe in the authority of the Bible. Explore God is based on the authority of the Bible, and we've already talked about this. You may have someone in your group that does not. Okay, and we live in a culture, and Sherwin read us the stats. These are American. It's the Bible, the Quran, the Book of Mormon. Okay, and so understand though that the content is based on the authority of the Bible. Okay. Humility. The key here is a spirit of humility in your group. Goes back to again. I think one of those stats says Christians are judgmental and anti-homosexual and those kind of things. And so when you get to group, all right, it's a spirit of humility. Okay, it's kind of what Sherwin was talking about. It's about relationship. It's really being sincere when you're asking questions and when you're saying, I don't know, but I'm gonna try to help you, figure this out, and we're gonna figure this out together. So you just kind of want to have that humility, okay? It's just authenticity. I think that's probably a better word, authenticity, okay? And then spiritual growth here. We talked about this before. The key here is you want to invite each person to take that next step. And so for someone, the next step may just be coming to group next week. That's it, okay? That's all I got. I'm gonna come next week, okay? Okay? And so you wanna kind of, help people identify maybe that next step. Maybe the next step is kind of following, looking at some of those follow-up resources and actually checking some of those out. Maybe that's a next step for them, okay? But you want to kind of, as a group leader, help people begin to identify those next steps. All right, group conversation. Now, and this is really just kind of review for you guys because you've been doing COGs. And so I'm not going to, stay too long on these. We want to spark conversation through open-ended questions. All we want to do here is ask questions that they can't respond yes or no to, okay? So just not a question where the response could be yes, no, I don't know, that kind of thing, okay? You want to avoid questions that have right or wrong answers. You want to ask follow-up questions that can be understood by the group. So when someone asks something or maybe respond in a way and you can kind of see that puzzled look on everyone's face, what do you mean when you said that? Okay? So you asking that follow-up question to make sure everybody's understanding, we're all on the same page, and maybe they go a little bit deeper in their response. Okay? You want to make sure all the chairs are in a circle. Okay? Circle. And the reason why I say this, because I know as group leaders we do circles, but when we go to a home that's hosting, they'll put the chairs everywhere. It's like I'm looking at somebody's head. And so you want to make sure as the group leader, okay, maybe get there a little bit early and make sure chairs in a circle. People learn better in circles, not rows or pews. And so you want to make sure that helps to create that environment where we feel close to one another. It's kind of an intimate space, okay? Then you want to sit in a spot that's visible to everyone. So you kind of want to be in a place where everybody can see you, make eye contact, that kind of good thing, okay? Avoid having the last word on every question. That's going to be really important for us this session. Somebody, some things may be said, and we feel like we have to answer that. We have to have a response, and so you don't have to have the last word on every question. And then avoid, obviously, telling someone their question is wrong. We do this in COG, okay? So there's no difference here. Absolutely. Absolutely. If they feel comfortable opening up their home, absolutely. I think that would be awesome. I really do. Any questions? Okay, so we talked about a couple of things. These are things that you will have as facilitators, leaders. Leader notes, they're up here. We're going to make sure you get them before you leave. That's the discussion guide that he was referring to in the video. The follow-up resources, those come out after group meeting. We'll send those out. So you'll get them, and then you'll be able to send them to the people in your group. And then obviously the exploreguide.com website, okay? Yes?
Availability to come in and out. We had an individual that, just wanted to pop in and out and miss. And, so do we,
none of us have that problem, do we?
So just let them come in and out.
I think if it's a GMZ member, or someone connected to the church, for circles of greatness, and nothing in that respect has changed.
Right.
We expect 100% participation, unless somebody is sick, or maybe work or something, but not to just miss just because.
Right.
And so I would set that expectation day one.
Okay.
And then drop them.
But there are some people that are not
if they don't
if
they don't come.
And they're not great, or, we're inviting them there.
Yeah, I think I would be a little bit more flexible with that.
Okay.
It may be, they may see the 7 topics and okay, I want to come here. I don't want to talk about that, or I want to do that. So I would kind of be a little bit more flexible with that.
So, good.
But your regular members, it goes back to the discipleship part. We want to see them in group. And so you have that expectation of them coming to group. Absolutely. Any others? Okay. Quickly, you'll see in your handout the discussion outline. So this is the same format for COG. We kind of have a social time. Everybody's coming in, that kind of thing. We're going to do prayer. And what I was mentioning to the new COG leaders, I don't know if you guys do this, but you can have an icebreaker before you get into the video. Some people just get into the video. I like to do an icebreaker because it just kind of relaxes everyone, and it gets everyone involved, especially if you have some non-talkers, because it's kind of a fun question and we're getting to know one another, okay? So prayer and icebreaker, and then you want to watch this, video 1. So the first video is always going to be like the short 3-minute, it's called the pulse video. Then you ask questions, and then the more lengthy video, then you ask questions, okay? The videos are here. So for all 7 questions, there are 2 videos per question, okay? So we've got videos for you. We got the discussion guide for you. But then also the the videos and all that are on exploreguide.com. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions on Explore Guide? So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Yes.
The anticipation that, I guess my anxiety is coming from, once we get into this, actually realizing that some of the members that have been with us for years have the same questions that people who are pre-Christians have. That's kind of giving me heart palpitations. Why? Because you've been doing this for 3-4 years. You've been sitting here, and I'm being honest. I mean, it's like you've been sitting here and under this ministry, and we still got these same questions. I mean, that's just an anticipation of an anxiety that, okay, now we're having to start over?
Well, I don't think we're starting over. I would expect that.
Okay.
I would expect that.
Glad you told me that.
Oh yeah, I would expect. I mean, you know, Pastor Clark just kind of talked. He really just kind of talked about that. I mean, we got some people in our groups and even in our church. I mean, you know, we know they're on different spiritual levels, and they just kind of been coming to church, and they get that spiritual. What did he call it last week? Spiritual activity thing, but they may not have that relationship. But Explore God is going to help that, okay? And in that, I would just help them identify where they are, the next step. I mean, that's kind of where you would have to start. I would hope that they would be open enough and comfortable enough in the group to say, you know, I struggle with this. I don't know if I'm saved. We should invite that and kind of have that atmosphere in our groups, okay? Don't be afraid of someone you've been like talking to for years is like, I don't know, I'm not sure, okay? Be ready for that. We even anticipated that. I got some Starting Over with God books up here, okay, to help y'all. Because I expect that to happen in this session.
I would think we would be successful as after the period of time, we had all these questions answered beyond a clear doubt. Nobody would ever doubt anymore what they really believe in after that. It's an example that is Brother Bradley, and I don't know if there's any other deacons that went through training with me, but Pastor took us through the Trinity. We all thought we knew the Trinity. We didn't know nothing about the Trinity. 5 hours later, we understood the Trinity. Okay? And that's what's going to happen with our current members. So I think we're putting some fear into this that's unfounded. Yeah, there's going to be that person who believes in Hinduism and all that we're going to have to deal with. But the only way you can deal with that person is to say, I understand, you know, yes, you believe in this. Let's get together. Let's get together and talk. And that'll give you a chance to at least understand what Hinduism is all about. At least a little bit, to where you can listen to them and say, okay, here's how we differ a little bit. Or that Mormon person, or that Muslim person, you know. But I think it's going to be a bigger challenge than we think with some of our own church members, because we're all at a different level. And I'm looking forward to this because it's going to answer some questions that I'm not totally clear on, but, you know, I've looked ahead. There's some pretty good questions in this thing.
That's good, yeah. Okay. Can we switch gears? Can y'all give me 10 minutes? We out, promise. Unless, now, that's my commitment to you. And if you have questions, that's on you.
Any more questions?
Well, my commitment to you is 10 minutes.
Questions?
Okay, 7. So y'all got 3 to answer.
No more
okay.
questions.
All right, so let's switch gears. We have, I guess in the last week, launched a COG leaders page. So on the small group page, there's a link to COG leaders page. Before every semester, I send you guys out all these documents, and y'all lose them, and y'all, can you resend that to me? Well, I caught up with y'all, and I put them all on the website. So you can download them whenever you like, So we've got like the covenant, all the documents we've done, the first meeting guide, and then also we created a document on fellowship ideas. A lot of times I get asked questions like, what couldn't we do? And so based on some of the things you guys have been doing throughout the years, we've kind of created a list for that. So all kinds of resources. So my weekly emails will be a link to that site because I put all that stuff in an email. Now it's kind of in a blog format. So I'm just sending you directly to that site. That way you can have everything there. Okay? Now, before we go, anybody keeping up with my time? Okay. There are a couple of things please make sure you get. Okay? One of these, I think we have enough. Well, I know we have enough for everyone. If y'all take 2 or 3, you gotta mess me up. Okay? So take one, and I promise you I'm gonna send you the link to exploreguide.com where you can play these from your iPad or computer at home, whatever you want to do. Okay? So you can kind of see this as a backup or however you want to do it. But kind of one per group for me, please. Okay? And then the discussion guide. So this is everything you're going to need for Explore Guide, okay? I would suggest maybe spending some time looking at the videos before group so you can kind of get a feel of the content and what they're going to be talking about, and you're not just seeing it when everyone else sees it in the group. So I would do that and kind of go through those questions. Starting over with God, take what you need here. If anyone is interested, the 2013 COG member survey, I wanted to share this with you guys. It's also on the website. But it kind of gives you an idea of, what the members in COG, how they're responding to the questions that we ask. So it's FYI. If you want it, great. And then these are yard signs. So if you take one, please, and the little thingy is here. Now here's the deal. If you have an HOA, they probably won't let y'all put it in the yard. So please don't take it, okay? So we have what? We have 50, okay? And we did 50 because we realized, I can't put mine in my yard, okay? And I know some people, last time we did in the city for the city, we had some problems. So if you can place yours in the yard, there's no issues. Please help yourself to a yard sign. And I think that's it, unless we have any questions. Yes. Joanna says no. Robert, did you have a question? Okay. No questions. Jamie. We have children. We have curriculum for the children. You can pick them up next Sunday. It is new. We try to connect it to what we're doing in Explore Guide. So it is new. Well, I'll get with everyone. I think I know there aren't any new groups with childcare, correct? It's just the same group. So it's probably six or 7. Okay, we're good? Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we're fully expecting for you to text us, email us, text Kevin and Sherwin, Ashante. I mean, we wanna at least as much as we can get you comfortable with what you're about to engage, okay? Text me too. All right.